tight end. We already told you earlier that you are probably going to have to put David Njoku on the bench. Mary Kay Cabot telling us that he is unlikely to play this week. So we just lost one, which makes the sits maybe a little bit harder to sit, but we'll get to that. What about the starts?
Yeah, Jake Ferguson. I know he wasn't great last week, but this is a really good matchup against the Panthers. No team has allowed more fantasy points at tight ends all year, and only one team has allowed more points to tight ends since week 7. Carolina's given up 10 or more points to 9 tight ends, and 5 have hit that mark since week 8. So Ferguson should be in your starting lineup. And then Tucker Kraft, who had a good stat line last week despite playing against a tough defense in Detroit. When you look at the numbers, though, at least 10.6 points in 3 straight games. He's got Seattle this week. They've allowed the 12th most points per game to tight ends, and 8 players at the position have beaten them for more than 9 points. And I think 9 point is the mark where you're thinking, okay, that's not a bad stat line from a tight end.
Give me some context here for these sits.
Well, Kyle Pitts has maybe got one of the 5 best matchups among tight ends this week. I can't play him. I can't. Over the last 5 weeks, 2.4 or fewer points 3 times, 3.2 points per game. He played 58 snaps last week, which is good. He saw 6 targets last week, which is good. It still did not equate to fantasy production. And in the first week of the fantasy playoffs, unless I am desperate, unless I have David Njoku and now I have to play Pitts, for example, I can't trust him. I can't trust him. Very, very hard player to start, even when the matchup is right. And then Dalton Kincaid, Lindsay talked about it a little bit earlier on the show. It looks like he's going to be back this week, full participation. And yes, people are going to have to play him. But Dalton Kincaid has not been great this year. No. And the Lions have allowed the fewest points per game to tight ends, and only 2, including Tucker Kraft, have beaten them for double digits. And the highest score that they've given up to a fantasy tight end this year is 13.1 points. That was Kraft last week. So Kincaid is a bit of a risk. I know you're probably going to have to play him, but this is a bad matchup against Detroit.